Greetings, everyone. It's IT2 and my dog Anime. And I was thinking about something a minute ago. I've talked about before about one of my favorite things in like fiction and whatever. Time travel is cool, but if you could go back to like the Middle Ages or something before cell phones and take a cell phone and show them a cell phone, how awesome would that be? How cool would it be to freak people out with stuff? Like I was talking about that yesterday movie with the guy who everybody forgot the Beatles existed or didn't exist in this universe. He played all the Beatles songs, and everybody was like freaked out how awesome that was, right? That would be my favorite thing to do if I could do something like that, is to like show people stuff. Like, oh, I've been thinking about this too. This is a crazy idea. See, it wouldn't really work though. You think about cavemen; they probably sat around and told stories around a campfire, right? And I've been reading a lot of books lately. So if I could go back to like different time periods, caveman days, medieval times, and like sit around and like tell people stories from books I've read, or to just take a whole book, take a Kindle full of books, and sit around reading stories to people from these different times, and be like, "What are you talking about? This is crazy. He knows all these stories that didn't even happen yet." But then it wouldn't work because you'd be talking about stuff nobody's ever heard of, like the technology hadn't existed yet. Like if you're talking about 9/11 to some medieval guys, they're like, "What are you talking about?" And you'd have to kind of explain it to them, like, "Okay, there's these two big tall towers, one of the tallest towers in the world, and a flying machine smacks into it and knocks it down and kills thousands of people." Like you'd have to explain it to the cavemen and medieval people and everybody. This is all just extra. So I was thinking about like how cool it'd be to like sit around a campfire like reading books. If communities of humans were just like maybe a zombie apocalypse happens or something happens where like an EMP on the whole earth and there's no more power, we'll have to sit around campfires with old books and just like tell stories that way. But that's not even what I'm talking about. What I want to talk about today is Raisin Bran. Yeah, Raisin Bran. That's what I want to go with. So I was sitting here. You know how we talk about like if you went back to medieval times with a cell phone, like all this technology. Everybody today has more stuff than a king had in medieval times. Like everybody today is greater than a king because we have so much, like headphones and MP3 players and iPhones and computers and TVs. Kings back in medieval times had none of this stuff, not even close, and they were the richest people in the world. And we have like light years beyond what they have. So I had a bowl of Raisin Bran for breakfast. I'm sitting here thinking like, how would I explain even just like a simple bowl of Raisin Bran to a king in medieval times? Because I had almond milk in it, and it's in a plastic bowl. I had a plastic spoon. First, you have to explain to them like what plastic is. Like, okay, we take oil out of the ground. Did they have oil back then? I know they had like olive oil and stuff. You have to explain to them about dinosaurs and how like oil is created in the earth. So we dig that stuff up and we fuel cars with it. But we can also extract a certain part. We can distill it down and like process it into making this flimsy material called plastic. It's probably like you can mold it easier than you can like a breastplate or something that a blacksmith would make. You'd have to explain to them like what plastic was. So we make bowls out of this stuff. It's better than wood or whatever you're using, or ceramics maybe. And then I have to tell them like, okay, I'm sure they had wine back in those days. So they probably had to ferment grapes. And the grapes, halfway through fermentation, they would have turned into raisins, right? Or you have to like sun dry them. So you have to explain to them like what raisins are, and we put sugar on them maybe. And like, did they have raisins in medieval times? I don't know. Did they have some kind of a proto cornflake type material? Like, I don't know what bran is. It's some kind of like wheats or oats or barley or what do you even, what's that stuff in power bars? Not the nougat, but shit, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Like, where's all these oats and grains come from? And we smash them down, we make them into these flakes, and we put the halfway rotted grapes in there. Okay, and then we don't use milk because we figured out milk's not really good for you. It makes you die earlier if you drink milk all the time, maybe. I mean, it's just weird that humans are drinking the milk of another animal. The only animal that does that. So we stopped doing that. I mean, a lot of us still do. But some of us decide we're going to drink milk that's made from nuts. He's like, what are you talking about? Making milk from nuts? Okay, we take a bunch of nuts. We grind them up into a powder. We put them into a bag with netting in it, where the milk we pour water on them. So the water turns white and it looks like milk, and it kind of tastes like milk. But it's better for you because it's not coming from a cow. And there's no fat and all this other crap. So we pour that onto our mixture of flattened grains and halfway rotted grapes. We use utensils made from oil to eat it. Like, that's such a weird process. Like, not even talking about, you can do this with anything around the house. Like, technology-wise, like a telephone or a TV, you have to explain to them how all that stuff works. And, like, pictures are coming through the air and all this stuff. But a fucking bowl of Raisin Bran is just so insanely beyond medieval times. That's pretty fucking crazy.